Hi everyone, welcome to Deep Learning Talks. So in the past video, we have discussed about Genie 3, a project that DeepMind has been working on. And why these kind of projects? Because we know that we need to do something better than LLMs. When LLMs are proven to reach something like brittle intelligence, jagged intelligence, and the next token prediction model, although in an autoregressive way, might not be the best model for generating and understanding real world, right? So we need projects and models like Genie, which can maybe classify to be called as world models of today. So what Genie essentially does is it creates environments. Now, what are these environments? Now, let's think about a physical real world scenario. It tries to simulate that particular scenario. Now, on top of that, it also helps you create an interactive environment. When we say interactive environment, we simply can go and play under that environment. Now, it's not a 2D environment, so it helps us create three-dimensional, interactive, physical, playable environments, right? It's going to have massive use cases. We're going to talk about the use cases and its limitations and how it compares to other video generation models in today's video. So Sora by OpenAI and Veo 3 by Google are very famously known as the video generation models, right? How does a project like Genie, which is Genie 3, compare to Sora and Google's Veo 3, right? So this project Genie has also come out from Google. Veo 3, which is one of the best state-of-the-art video generation models, has also come out from Google, and Sora has come out from OpenAI, right? So how does all of these models compare? What are the technical advantages of Genie over Sora and over VO3? So Genie, as we know, creates physical, playable, interactive environments, right? So it helps you in creating an environment that can be leveraged for training different kind of agents. We'll talk about them. Whereas Sora and VO3 are helping us creating videos, right? Now these videos are obviously static in nature. When I say static, I mean we cannot get into the video and change our POV, modify them, interact with them, right? We cannot hover over someone, put a building from one place to the other, move road objects and pedestrians in a scenario, right? So it's not playable, it's not gamified, it's not interactive, right? Now video generation has different kind of use cases, whereas like VO3 works perfect for creating a movie production setup, right? It can imitate media, it can create professional setup videos, whereas Sora has proven to create or imitate great social media trends, right? So both of them have their different use cases. Now what about the consistency? So if we talk about consistency on Genie is highly consistent, right? Because Genie has something known as memory, right? It can maintain long horizon consistent memories. It can remember and recall the context of past context up to 1 minute. But if we talk about Sora has this ability to drift over time, right? As time grows, it has the tendency to drift. Drift means it can accumulate errors as we go on with respect to time. I mean, as time window increases, it has the tendency to hallucinate more, and it can compound errors over time. So this phenomena cannot be called as drifting, right? The environments might arbitrarily change in case of Sora or the video environment, not like a physical interactive environment. But whereas if we talk about VO3, VO3 is still moderately consistent. It is not the best as compared to Genie 3, but it's still far better than Sora, right? Now, another parameter that we should talk about is interactivity. We know that Genie obviously is interactive. It creates three-dimensional environments and it helps a user get into the environment and play around with it, right? And it's not a simulation. Simulation is a little different than what we call here as an environment. So don't think about proper simulation when we talk about an environment here. Whereas VO3 is just doing text to video prompting, right? It text to video generation, and same with Sora. Sora is also doing text to video, so there is no concept of interactivity. Now, if we talk about the frame rate, there is no concept of frame rate for OpenAI, Sora, and Google's Veo 3. But when it comes to Genie, Genie has 720 pixels high fidelity videos or 720p high fidelity environments with 24 frames per second of frame rate. But there is no concept of frame rate in both the other video generation models. Now, if we talk about the physics engine behind them, right? The physics engine behind Genie helps Genie understand the idea of fluids, the idea of gravity, the idea of collision, right? The idea of objects interacting in the real world. So the physics engine has enabled Genie 3 learn the idea of neural physics. This is a very good technical advantage in Project Genie 3. So when it comes to use cases, especially for Genie 3, Genie 3 does not have exactly the same use cases as Sora and Veo, because it's not a video generation model. It has more extended use cases where you need to interact with an environment. Now, what are those use cases? One of the use cases, gaming, right? You need an environment. And what if you could simulate and generate infinite number of environments, right? So that your gameplays can have infinite number of environments. What if you could put an agent into an environment to train that agent? Now, this paradigm of putting an agent into an environment and where the agent can learn and self-correct itself from its environment, this paradigm has come from AlphaGo and AlphaFold, right? So Genie 3 kind of has this paradigm, whereas we cannot do that with Sora and Veo. Sora and Veo are great at producing videos of production grade quality, and they're great at producing media, they're great at imitating media, they're great at producing ads, social media trends, right? And obviously very, very realistic real world videos. Now think about it for a moment. We know that Sora and VO3, both of them fail when it comes to simulations, when it comes to environment, right? We cannot get into the video to change the POV in Sora or VO, but when it comes to Genie, we can, right? Now, what about a scenario where a robotics researcher is trying to work on a self-driving car and they want to test all their algorithms on a scenario? And what if they could generate infinite number of scenarios using Genie? And in each of those scenarios, they can put up an agent, which is their car, and multiple road objects and pedestrians to train their algorithm or to test their algorithm and to self-correct their algorithm. What about an autonomous aerial robotics engineer is working on a drone, right? Where he's testing different algorithms that they have produced for drones. They can leverage Genie 3 to create different environments where they can deploy the drone, not in real world, but they can deploy a drone in the environment to test and to take feedback and to self-correct and to better the algorithm, right? Before directly going into the real world. And same, what about if we are training an agent? When we are on the path to AGI, we would need these kind of simulators. We would need these kinds of playground. What if we use Genie as a playground to train an agent? Let's say we want to train an agent to climb a ladder, to climb a mountain, right? And to understand how to walk on a flat surface, how to walk on an inclined surface, right? So Genie 3 is going to be commendable with these kind of use cases, and its applications for AGI are massive, especially when it comes to physical AI that has to do something with the physical AI systems like autonomous driving systems and autonomous aerial and robotics, humanoid robots. And the use cases of Sora and the use cases of View are completely different, right? But something that Genie does is it can help you set up a whole new environment. Now that environment is your training ground for your agent should enter that environment and learn to behave a certain way in the physical world, just like human beings do. The biological brain, as we talked about cat intelligence, the biological brain of a cat comes into existence into this universe and understands objects and the physical nature and the spatial structures of the objects and how gravity behaves, how it can fall down. If a mice is running under the cabinet, it will not bypass the wall and disappear. It will stay under the cabinet. So just like a biological brain or a human being comes into the universe and acts as an agent and learn with respect to its environment, we can have Genie create infinite number of such environments where we can deploy different agents to and allow them to learn from their environment, self-correct, course correct, and move forward. So more than its applications in robotics and in gaming, obviously you if you want to prototype something for gaming, you can leverage something like a Project Genie. DeepMind is using Project Genie to come up with a scaled instructable multi-world agent, right? So to train its scaled instructable multi-world agent, now what is it? So it's a simple agent. Now it is multi-world, right? And it is instructable. I can teach it how to climb a wall, how to climb a mountain, how to climb stairs, how to climb a ladder, right? Or what to do when it rains, how to run, how to walk on a plane surface, and how to walk on an inclined surface, right? So it's instructable and it is multi-world and it is scaled, right? So they call this project as SEMA. So they are using Genie as a training environment producer, and they are using SEMA as an agent, right? And both of these cumulatively are used to model a system where we have an agent and we have agents training ground. So now this agent can be taught, and all the things that the agent learns on different scenarios, you know, can maybe lead to intelligence, right? So DeepMind is leveraging the Project Genie for producing intelligence, for producing reasoning, for understanding or making an agent understand the physical and spatial structure of the world, depending on what all scenarios they're training that agent on. Now, on top of this, DeepMind is definitely going to capitalize, since they're very enterprising, they're going to capitalize on this particular service where they give the physical environments of produced by Project Genie, packaged as cloud service, right? So since DeepMind is very enterprising, they also have very capitalistic use cases for Project Genie. They can package it in a cloud service and give the physical environments to other companies in a SaaS format. So because compute is really expensive, not every company has a tendency to produce these infinite number of physical environments. So they can package it as a service and just simply give Project Genie's output as a service, as a cloud service. Now, we know that Genie might be correlated as today's world model, but it's not the best physical world model that we have ever seen. It's not the best world foundational model. It has some authenticity and societal issues, right? So even Nano Banana and Sora had a lot of issues. There were cases that where when we saw people were using Nano Banana and people were using Sora to create fake videos. For example, it was used a lot to set up fake narratives using fake news and fake media, and all the political agencies were using these kind of fake medias to spread of fake narratives. Similarly, there was a news where we saw that an employee faked an injury to leverage their leaves, right? So I mean, all of these kind of issues would would see, and we would not be able to establish a clear difference between a real image and a generated visual, right, from all of these models. So we would have a lot of ethical and societal concerns when it comes to visual evidence, when it comes to visual photography and visual videos. We have to solve it. Now, if we talk about hallucinations and limitations of Genie, see, the thing is, we know that Genie might not be the best world model that we have. It might be the best world model of today's intelligence, but it's not the best world model. It's as close as we could get right now. So if Genie can simulate physics, but if it is prone to hallucinations, for example, if you are hallucinating on physics, that means the understanding of gravity might fail or it might reverse. The understanding of objects might reverse or might fail. And if the understanding of fluids and liquids, for example, if a liquid is falling off the ground, it's not producing a splash. If all of these things that are related to physics are, are failing, then can we really use them to solve very critical problems? For example, if the physical understanding is hallucinating in Genie's environment, and I use that particular environment to train a drone that I have to deploy as an aerial taxi. And if I use that particular environment to train my humanoid robot that I have to deploy in real universe and productionize it, you know, it is a very big security concern, right? So hallucinations, especially in these models, which should be or which can be used for very mission critical use cases, is a big problem, right? So unless we understand complete physics and spatial structure of the universe, these particular world models can definitely have its limitations and can have problems. So my final note is that the reliability of neural physics, so neural physics is what these models are trained on, still remains a critical hurdle before these models can be trusted for real world and safety critical simulations. Cheers, hope to see you in next video.